Alright, here we are. So we're going to try and stay a little bit on track here with what we're talking about. So we're saying bankrupting economy, and then I'm saying, wait a second, there's always been a model for your presidents that have gone in there that have helped to heavily influence the economy to burst or not, right? Because the people could say, oh, he doesn't really have that much power. The president really doesn't have that much to say, but I'm telling you, the president is swinging his ass around, and he has influence and he has power, and they think he's supposed to be at least a prestigious guy. So if they're wasting a lot of money on his clock, um, whose fault really is that? That the politicians would make you want to think that they believe that you should think that it's your fault for voting for them for doing that, not them actually going there and misrepresenting you. Because if they bankrupt your economy and your society, they are officially not representing you. They're not your representative. So anybody else in any other place would not only be looking out for the economy, their own economies, they would want those different economies to be thriving and in the plus. So, I do not believe that the Clinton agenda is that much different than the Obama agenda, and it winds up being not an American, um, goal that we're trying to reach for our own people and for our own economy. So I'm saying, like, if other governments, not just states here in America and the state governments, but let's say governments abroad or wherever, they followed the role model of the American law and our um, government system and our judicial systems, right? So, um, all I can say is that there is, up to this point, there is a model for whether you want to pull us out of the red, you want to wipe our debt out, or do you want to keep this debt thing hanging and keep it going and see, where we go several trillion dollars later, because we've already, um, I think, we're on the conclusion together. One thing that we thought together as a country, Democrat or Republican, was, hey, $1 trillion, that's a lot of damn money. So then it really comes down to just people particularly having a problem with Bush, not with anything that he did while he was president or the war or anything like that. They just have a problem with him in particular because he wasn't who they voted for, or he wasn't the person, their guy. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't represent their party in particular. So no matter what Bush did, you know, he could have only done wrong, in my opinion, on some people. So that's why I kind of like to support the President George Bush a little bit, is because I think a lot of things that people said about him is poppycock, is false. It's not even true. And that's coming from a guy who's more than just my opinion. I actually campaigned for the guy a little bit, um, in a state that was going to lose anyway, but I did it anyways because I really like the guy. Um, but anyways, I wrote down all of the negative things. They actually wanted me to do that also. For the second tour that Bush had, his second term, they wanted us to write down um, specific things that people said about him if we could get some kind of answer from somebody being negative with the guy. So we wrote it down, and I um, cross like uh, noted it to my own personal little notepads or whatever, and I made a note of it myself. And I went home to my own computer and I searched for all the stuff that they said about him. And it's pretty interesting. People will go on and on and on about stuff that has no bearing or anything to do with him being real or him trying to do the right thing or not. They just have a problem with him probably because he's a Republican. Mainly. So, um, anyways, um, so we have this bankrupting economy thing now. There's always been a role. There's been a role model since before. Um, I'd say maybe even before the 30s. I mean, people had made kind of maybe enough sense to their own self. Say like they worked it out in their head. You like try to work out a math problem or something like that. So yeah, people for a long time since any of us have been alive, even right, were politicians or whoever these people were, all along. They can make up stuff in their own mind. Um, and there's been a pattern to what the way things go and the mechanisms in government. I believe that it doesn't take somebody with um, you know it's an astronaut or somebody who's a professor necessarily or something like that can go if they had the right intentions to become a president would actually accomplish um, some good things. Besides the fact that if they are, let's say, not intelligent enough to not be fooled by people whenever they're being given, say, the wrong uh, kind of advice and stuff from other people. Um, Other than that, they would only have to have a good, say, judgment call for different things and would have to be able to handle themselves on the spot more than anybody else. So you're looking for, I don't think we're all as a country as a whole looking for um, the wrong leader or somebody who is going to use one of the models for bankrupting America instead of using one of the models that we have for protecting our own interests and putting America back on track and wiping out the debt. So there's always been one one way or the other. So they want to try to get all in depth and try to get our brain scientific with you on this political stuff. And I'm telling you, it's as simple as that. That it only takes somebody who meant well and they had good judgment, common sense, and good judgment. Then that would be definitely what it would take to get America back on track and to get things paid for our debts to be paid off. So, um, you know, uh, when Bush was when Bush was president, this is what happened. So we decided after Clinton that enough was enough, and enough people out there understood that um, what I had explained about Newt Gingrich. Um, he's a Republican, and how the Republican Party really um, kept America um, business and everything going when Newt Gingrich made the contract with America. So coming out of that era, the Clinton era, you know, and they'll take full credit for all that. The Democrats, well, they don't tell Newt things or anything like that. They just said, kiss my ass, Newt. But you see Newt on TV all the time. It's because Newt actually saved America with the American Republican Congress. So that was what their initiative and their agenda was to keep America on track. Their focus was always on America and American jobs and American livelihood, not a world economy or bring us all together as an economy. We want people. They've already showed how up to here a model for one way or the other. Either you want a good society where you have a nice house and stuff, or you get swindled. So back when Bush was president, they um, had a full majority, conservative majority, of Congress and Senate, just like Obama had a full liberal majority everything when he got Obamacare right off the bat. So what did the government do? The government had a couple of Republicans turn Democrat, and one I believe went independent back then when we had an opportunity to. We would have been able to pay all of our debts off, and we would have went to war with Iraq. You got to think about the amount of damage that caused. So they had, of course, they had insurances and stuff like that, but the Pentagon, um, when you had other things happen in the housing market, so we were $9 trillion in debt when Obama took office. Now we're at like 22 trillion. But see, what we needed in 2009 was somebody to at least stay on track with what Bush was doing and not be um, a liberal douchebag about where money's spent, all these people's personal interests when those people are just fine. They didn't need special help or whatever. They're trying to make political pandering gestures and stuff, and they look at maybe all of those people like the same, like minority groups are all the same. It doesn't matter if you're gay or black or whatever. So people people are just people, you know. But anyways, so there you have it. Back when George Bush was in there, and that wasn't even a vote, so they weren't even doing it in an official elected thing. The government back then all turncoated on Bush, and I'm telling you, Bush was a Reagan man, was a staunch Reagan man, and anybody can tell you George Bush, oh, he didn't do Reagan stuff. Well, yeah, he did. Because one of the things that he did to try to save us money, he was trying to save us money with Dick Cheney and other people in the government. I believe Rumsfeld and these other people were they're conservatives, so they're not trying to waste your money. Um, so anyways, they all turned their back on Bush and became, other than the conservative majority on Bush when they had a chance to do that. And, uh, oh, uh, Bush, you pulled out, like, this is why I always say, like, talk about myself going to become a president, because I know a lot of this good stuff that goes on behind the scenes. And one of the things is they like to go in and sometimes bring up old presidential files. So what I say is I would bring up John F. Kennedy's files, and I would bring up I would try to bring up issues with Robert Kennedy, also what he was talking about, and Nixon. I would open Nixon files on how to fix the economy. I would look at Ronald Reagan. If I had enough time to have all my people look at all that stuff, and then take America's paper, like her file, and like went scattered everywhere. We need to take it and put it back together and straighten it out and get America straight like that. So, um, basically what Bush did in particular was he ran the country like Ronald Reagan. He opened the Reagan files and used the Reagan files. So technically, Ronald Reagan went to war with Iraq. George Bush was the president, but he was following a strict role model of the Reagan presidency, and he was using Reaganomics. Bushonomics, the second Bush, um, did not go for his own dad's politics in particular either. Maybe that's why they were kind of negative about him becoming president, because they knew he had a different agenda than his father did in particular, and that was of the Ronald Reagan uh, era, error, um, time when they were doing Reaganomics. So there's a lot of people that would try to be negative about Mr. Reagan too, but it's a different time and place that we're in now. Probably a lot of the big problems that they had back then, I believe, was like stuff like the war on drugs and stuff like that. Um, so I'm just I would rather um, I don't know, accessible when people accessible to drugs. Um, I would just like to all I can say is whenever it comes to that, I would like to see how um, regular people, like children in particular, do without being talked to about any of that stuff, and just see where they wind up when they're at, when they become an adult or through life, if they need to talk to a professional. That's why we have um, a system that we have set up the way it is. So, anyways, um, yeah, Clinton had intelligence on 9/11. So a lot of people don't even know that, but Bill Clinton had intelligence of 9/11 was going to happen. So if you go back now, when people talk about um, Bush having something to do with 9/11 or something like that, they're so mistaken. You need to, if you could, for me, go back and look at pictures or images of video or something of him on that day when he was sitting there with those kids in particular, and it looks like a startled person to me. It looks like somebody who had absolutely no idea what you're talking about. Are you kidding me? You know what I mean? He looked just as shocked as anybody else. So if you were to put yourself in a president's position like that, one that you like, anyways, um, if you had an event like that happen, unfold while you're president, and you really had no idea about it. They talk about him like being looked like a deer caught in the headlights or something. Like bam, he was like freeze in the headlight or in the spotlight. Um, well, he had that particular look on his face that day, like shock. So, um, people can talk all the smack they want to about him, but that truly is not the case. What they say about Bush having something to do with 9/11 and those terrorists. I guarantee you that he did not have anything to do with terrorists. It's absurd. Go back and look, if you would, please. Don't let somebody convince you that it was him that had something to do with it from our government or the in on it. Go and look at the expression on his face that day when that all happened. And you'll see a shocked individual. So, anyways, if Clinton had intelligence on all that stuff, and for whatever reason he allowed all of that to take place, um, let's see. The only thing that I'm gonna say is, so there's always been a role model. There's always been politicians working in the government. One either you pay close enough attention, you can catch on, but that's why they're saying, oh well, when they lowered taxes back in the day, that's a model. Look at if you can listen to Ben Stein on Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and listen to what the guy is saying in particular. He's telling the class, and he's like the most boring um, school teacher ever lived, or something like that. Everybody's all drooling because it gets putting him to sleep. But I heard every word he said, and I used to pay attention, close attention to all of that stuff for some reason. Um, Basically got like 99 answers right out of 100 questions on the president. So, um, I mean, when I studied, anyways. And, anyway, so, what he's saying there is, he's a class, or however he says that, he couldn't bore people to death. He's telling them, back in the 1930s or whatever, he was saying, you have to go back and listen to what he said. He's saying that when when the governments lowered taxes, not raised taxes, they helped to influence the economies more and made the economies thrive more. So you figure out a way to get people that are going to have a successful business or whatever, their foot in there, and then figure out how to tax them because they have to pay for certain things, they're not going to get out of, like paying for the military and other things in society. But when they made a certain kind of, I would say they were looking out for the interest of, well, they ended up maybe looking out for the interest of the people by um, figuring out by their models that that was going to be what was going to bring more revenue in for the government in particular. So right now, part of the reason why your government is bankrupt is maybe because of all the high taxes. The higher taxes you get, the more it's going to be more incredibly hard for the government to make revenue in particular. Then you have the guy, Obama, like he ain't a socialist. He's made all these government jobs. So he put all these different people. Yeah, created so many jobs that are going to run out, and somebody else become president they'll make him look bad because he'll have to fire everybody because there's no revenue coming into the government, and the government has such a high debt because he won't do a budget. So also a lot of the money that's being thrown around or whatever is not being accounted for. And you don't know where a lot of it is. Some of that debt has to do with the budget not being budgeted. So as soon as a president comes in and does a budget, they'll have to come in and do a budget for Obama because he refuses to do it. Maybe it's a good thing because he's probably that incompetent and probably doesn't know how to do a budget. fix a budget. So um, you're gonna have it look like there's a big, huge debt also, and some of that in it, and it's a bankruptcy like issue, like where your creditors call you on the phone, and your phone rings and rings and rings, and you have a way to go and pay, and you have the money sitting here to go and pay this off, but each month you refuse to go put the money in the bank to have it automatically withdrawn and paid. Maybe you're paying the interest on all the stuff for right now, and the late fees because you're not paying them back. But you're still sitting over there for some reason. You got all this money and you won't cough it up. You know, you're trying to force a bankruptcy. So another name I wanted to throw around there, people who are going to watch this, are going to listen to what I'm saying. I want you to look up Saul Alinsky. This is um, basically the role model America has been on, and it's the same practice that the Clintons would use, and a lot of Democrats, um, learn this stuff, and that's what they believe in. So it gets them away from, our priorities or whatever, and paying our debts off and having that revenue flowing not just through society really good, but flowing it to the government really good also. So right now they're at an all-time high on taxes. They're going to be at an all-time low, being withdrawing or um, having their selves paid, the money coming in to the federal government. As long as the taxes are extreme, I'll say this again. As long as the taxes are extreme, go watch Ferris Bueller's and listen to what Ben Stein said when he was playing the role of the teacher or whatever. Go and listen to what he says very carefully. And he's saying that while you're at an all-time high paying taxes, the federal government is going to be at a super low at pulling money in to your government to pay for different things. So there is a way that you can pay everything, and then you have like you want to get into you know social programs and different things like that in those aspects. There's plenty of money to pay for. I mean, all that stuff. Take care of the old and the handicapped, or disabled, or whatever your people. But the budget's not being done, and your foreign policy, is like it's set up to just be a hideous, monstrous disaster, just to maybe make American foreign policy look disastrous and terrible on purpose, so that yeah, that looks good for somebody to come in and sweet talk everybody's ass for a global economy to go into a world economy. Oh, because your regular economy that thrived before, that you have a model for what's good or bad for the thing. It's so shitty. We must make a world group or pack now because of that shit. You know what I'm saying? And they're gonna have some like antichrist, like guy who comes in, he's gonna be able to sweet talk, and blow smoke up everybody's ass about this world government thing, and boom, they're going to dick our economy off on purpose, and that's what they've been doing. And Clinton was a sexual deviant. That's why there was more of a surplus when he left, because you're talking about the richest country in the world, anyways, and we have the richest resources in the world, anyways. So why wouldn't we want to protect our country in our own interest especially whenever if we get involved with the place, or we're either taking something toxic or deadly out of the equation and healing people, like with the CDC, or we're going in there and we're trying to help with other countries that are still, you know, have democracy in mind and have people's freedom and freedom to vote, so their votes or whatnot, um, fighting for democracy, make those different places have those freedoms and have democracy like that. So, um, anyways, all I can say is I was just gonna tell you that that's sincerely true that there is, if I became a president, a U.S. president, I already told people what I would do. I would look at John Kennedy, this thing, getting rid of the mafia and the mob mentality type of aspects. That's a big thing with the unions. The unions are kind of atrocious. I don't know exactly what Jimmy Hoffa was trying to do, but I mean, look at what they did to him in particular because they couldn't, you know, the guy had to disappear or whatever. Maybe Hopper could have changed his appearance, or maybe he just disappeared like that. Maybe he really didn't die, but maybe they gave him a choice to walk away and have a face transplant or something like that. But anyways, um, all I can say is you have to do what's right for everybody. And what these people are doing in particular is an agenda, or it's a the practice of what they're doing is for a goal or something like that. It's not for, hey, let's all sit down and we'll all talk so we're all on the same wavelength and all understand what's going on with the government and not all be um, kind of, not kind of, but really, pushed out of the public knowledge of what's going on in government. How our politicians are, what the things they really are doing or up to. Um, People need to, politicians anyways, need to be like on the level with people. I believe in God and having God's will, but I'm just saying people that are all together like linked on a wavelength. Not some politician's agenda in particular. So, anyway, the last thing I wanted to say was, um, I think it's more of a segment, not really. It's not a whole half hour or anything like that to talk about Trump for a minute. If I'm supporting Trump and I voted for him in the primary, and I'm going to probably vote for him. Um, Probably if he makes it to the runoff, whoever the Republican is, I'll vote for the Republican. I'll just say that. And I'm hoping that Trump wins, and I hope that enough people, I'm sure there probably are, the media is trying to say that he has a lot of people that don't like him or whatever, and they just won't show up to vote if he gets elected or this and that. But they actually have the potential of having another, landslide victory for one of these guys and a record turnout anytime. So you can be looking for that anytime you have an election. Depends on how many people truly like the guy or not. So, or in this case, a woman might make it. So if they like her or not. So the only thing I can say is I was saying like they're bankrupting us on purpose right now with Obama, right? So they have a world global agenda. You can catch, I guess, a little bit of that up on other places probably out like Alex Jones channel would fill you in a lot on different things that goes on with deal makings with those people in particular. But I'm talking about America, and the reason why when Bush for 8 years added maybe 2 trillion with the um, everything that was going on 9/11, a complete liberal majority in everything in the House and the Senate. They didn't even let him have full conservative Congress and Senate. Um, like I said, these establishment um, politicians or whatever stabbed Bush right in the back and turned it around on him. And he had a complete liberal base after that, after like 2001, because of a couple of Republicans that did that. And where was the Tea Party? Where was the Tea Party on that one? So the Tea Party is not really a Tea Party if they are not just proactive for Bush, pro Bush, but that in depth pro Bush. I'm saying, where were you when all of those Republicans turned their back on all of us and their establishment? So our country would have had the war paid for and everything else all taken care of, and people would have had good jobs. The abuses of being taxed would have not had been severe. It would have been a common uh, normal thing that would have been added up and not whatever they're spending the money on now. I mean, they're spending the money on ridiculous stuff. Like Obama did another, and I did a video on it. He come down here to Jacksonville and shells out billions of dollars to a wind factory company that has lost that much money and needed billions of dollars for him to come down here and bail them out because they're so successful. So does that make any sense? And when the time comes, Obama needs to be held accountable. Him and all of those companies that actually took the money, because like out here, like if I had something to do with somebody who took something where it didn't belong and I didn't even know about it, I would still be in jeopardy. Even if I didn't get in trouble, I could be, especially if the person went and then told the police, oh yeah, he did this or that. And I'm like, I don't know, the guy just handed me this. Then I'm like, oh, whoa, I'm going to jail. You know what I mean? So the people from those businesses are, in my opinion, when it comes down to it, they want to pander around like they're not, but they really are just as guilty as Obama and all these other pukes that take bribes or handouts or whatever that have absolutely no intention to do anything positive. So we're looking at Trump getting us back on track. But if if he becomes the president, which I believe that he would, that's who I think is going to win. I think he's going to win by big, huge popular, um, the electorates, and everything else all around the country, and a huge popular victory for Trump. But but if he goes in there and he doesn't do a budget, and the first thing he doesn't do is budget all this crap that's been going on here lately for Obama now, because Obama refused to do it. He's probably not capable of doing it. Like I said, Trump will make us look like egg on our face. He will make all the people who are Trump supporters look bad. Well, he'll make us look terrible if he goes in there and for 4 years he lollygags and he doesn't do a budget, fix the budget. That's the first thing that he needs to do. Second is minimize the taxes. Try to figure out how to get um, taxes way down. You know, if you want um, people, we all buy everything. There's, you know, we buy, consume. We consume, consume, and consume. So even if we had a lot of private ways to have businesses and make money, even tax free or whatever, for a while, we're still going to shopping centers and other places and we're buying, we're consumers, and we're still spreading the money around to where it actually needs to go, and it needs to go partly bit by bit like that back into the economy, into paying these different other taxes and stuff like that, and have people be able to afford everything, a house, a car, and everything, and boom, pump the economy just like that. So a budget and um, focus on everybody being able to come up with some cash on their own, because probably more than likely the more cash that they have in their bank or to themselves, um, it's less likely that the banks are going to need a bailout, or if somebody goes to get a loan, are not going to be able to pay on the loan. They won't renegotiate on any loans that are out there. I would prefer to be able to have some land and everything paid off, make a little bit of money. When I buy something, I put all the money down that I need on it and just buy it flat out, you know? So maybe it might be more towards like a livelihood, like, having a farm or something like that. So then you would invest into a tractor. You wouldn't necessarily have to put it on payments or whatever. You'd be able to work in your business up to being able to, like I said, just go and buy the damn thing instead of having to, um, because sure, we all make debts, we've all paid debts off, but there's no guarantee that in a loan if you're going to pay that off for sure. So we want to have everything. If you're going to make a loan and a deal, we want to make sure that those are absolute guarantees as best that we can. Because, like I said, the person could die even, and then what do you do with the loan? You're going to repossess the thing, and then it's kind of screwed up anyway. So we want people to be able to pay all the debts off. If they go to the hospital, they want all of those medical bills paid off. We don't want an ER bill hanging over people's head. We want them to be able to have all their insurance wherever they want to get insured from, and be able to have all those medical bills and everything paid off. And we don't want the government to dictate to all those, because they don't care. They really don't. You tell me how many government programs were successful. You had like NASA, the CDC, the U.S. military. A lot of government programs are doing excellent, but no, you have the different people in charge of different things. Depends on how those mechanisms or programs are run. Also. So and then you look at things that are necessary. Things really are, and how you get everybody on track. Be a little sincere. Don't just be a politician and try to pander to people. So, see, we have kind of it would be a little bit of you would think social thought, like to help people out or whatever. But really, socialism really is where they tell you what to do, what kind of size shoe to wear. So if the average shoe was a 10, I would be screwed if everybody's average on the whole nation of America's average size was 10. I'd be screwed because 12, no? 11 or 12 or whatever. So, it's just a lot of things people have to put in perspective, and I guess you can thank Obama. There has been several different things that I had thanked the guy for, but it wasn't exactly what everybody would think. Like you would think people who are on his side would thank him for positive things. I thank him for the negative things that he did, so that he makes me look good. Because what I'm saying is, Trump has the potential to maybe making me look bad and other people that support him if he goes and becomes president and he does not do the budget. I mean, he just lollygags for 4 years. Um, Basically, all of the other criminals, they're really criminals. Trump is actually a success story. So let's get that straight here. Trump's a success story. The politicians we see out there are all criminals. Now, if any of them became president or whatnot, I believe that they would all prove me more correct. So what I'm giving Obama credit for is I'm giving him credit for my videos and everything that I've said about him. You know, him staunchly being a Democrat, sticking to the Democrat practice, you know, which is a Clinton and Obama, whoever they want to throw at you to become our president agenda. So I thank them for making me look smart, because they really did. They made my videos, they made my case for me. I'm just explaining the dots and whatnot and this and that for everybody else, like other people who put everything into perspective like that. So thanks. And then thanks for anybody watching this, and if you appreciate it, thanks. Yeah, because these videos right now, because they have kind of such a low rating, I'm not putting ads on any of them. And they had a couple of, I kind of had a beef with the ad thing, so kind of despiting the thing. Right now, I refuse to put ads on my videos, so that's why you didn't see any on there.